Hi everyone, Philip Brooks here. Welcome to another Parousia Podcast. Just a quick note before we dive into this week's episode with Matt Ingold and Charbel. This episode was broadcast live on the 20th of May 2020 and talks about events that are now in the past. But not all hope is lost. In the show notes below, I will include links to the premium pass which gives you access to the recordings of these conferences. So here now is Charbel and Matt Ingold.
Welcome. This is Charbel, the founder of Parousia, on the Parousia Podcast, and I have a guest all the way from the United States. If you've ever watched the virtual Catholic conferences we've been promoting, there was the original virtual Catholic conference, of course, with over 60,000 people there. And then afterwards, there was a Theology of the Body conference with over 70,000 people. And this weekend coming, we have another one with the Chastity Project. And at this stage, it's closing in on about 18,000 people. And the founder of that, or the co-founder, is Matt Ingold. And he joins me live now from the United States. And let's welcome him now. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Charbel. How are you?
Thank you. Very well. Thanks very well. Thanks for coming on. It's been an honor to have you. And what a great job you guys have been doing over the last couple of months now. So well done to that.
I tell you what, it's been a race. It has been a foot race, but we got a really solid team, and it was just an inspiration, really. It's hard to take a whole lot of credit for it. We like to say that it was just a fiat, right? We just gave our fiat, and the Lord has made an abundant harvest out of it. Charbel, when we first stepped off to do it, just to give a quick background, it was like. It was early March. I was getting ready to go speak at the Memphis Men's Conference with Matt Fradd, and John Edwards, my friend, our co-founder, was getting ready to head up to Milwaukee to speak to about 3,500 men up there. And almost within the same day, our conferences got canceled. And I just shot him a text. I was like, dude, why don't we just do a virtual conference? He's like, what's that? I'm like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And so I had a little bit of experience putting some stuff together online, and we just started reaching out to a couple of people. We thought there was going to be like maybe five. My stretch goal was 500 people. And so, but when we got Father Larry Richards, and we got Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and we got Christopher West, we got Sister Bernadette Madonna, and Bethany Madonna, and I think I'm saying it correctly, and Sister Miriam. It was just like, wow, like this is getting bigger. And it was the week of, we had about 5,000 people before we got started. And then over the next couple of days, we had like 10,000, 15,000, 17,000, 20,000 people that were just showing up each day. And before we knew it, we had 64,000 people. It was a blessing. It brought with it some challenges too. When all of a sudden you're waiting, so you got 60,000 people waiting at the door to show up at your virtual conference, and you get the email out like 7 minutes late. All of a sudden, Facebook starts blowing up, and your email starts blowing up, and I mean, it was one of those we're going to need a bigger boat scenarios. But the Lord really brought us through it, and we just realized that there was an opportunity here to continue doing this. And the Theology of the Body Institute just knocked it out of the park too. They got another one coming up, an Hispanic conference going on June 12th to the 14th. Okay. Which is going to be phenomenal. So yeah.
I'm excited about the one coming up. So tell us about this one. This is with Jason Everett, the Chastity Project.
Yeah, well, Jason was one of the presenters at Virtual Catholic Conference, and he reached out to me shortly afterwards, and he was just like, Matt, my schedule's good. Everybody's schedule was cleared, with COVID. And so especially these ministries that have really, they've built their mission on in-person conferences. And so before you know it, I mean, I think when Jason was saying that pretty much all of his summer stuff just went. So he's like, I got nothing but time, and the Lord's laying this on my heart. So what do you think? Can we do this? And I was just like, this sounds phenomenal. And so we just partnered up. And we started working on it. Jason really hustled to get a lot of the speakers. We got John Edwards on our team. My wife, Erin Ingold, also working her tail off. And Ryan Foley is our behind the scenes partner as well. That's just like, just throws gasoline on anything he touches. and it's just been amazing. Just getting to interact. I love getting to interact with all these speakers that for a long time have been my Catholic heroes. I mean, who am I?
Yes.
Right. And I'm just like getting to interact with these people on a regular basis, and they're very good people.
Wow. Great. Well, great job. I understand it's not a huge team, what you've got behind you. You know, there's a small knit team of you, and what you pulled off in literally a matter of weeks was just what a blessing.
Yes, indeed. Late nights, mornings, got a toddler. I mean, but the Lord multiplies our time and our efforts, and it was the fruits were abundant, and it was great. It was great.
Well, thank you for your yes and your commitment to do that, because thanks to the 60,000 in the first conference, the 77 in the second, and now what are we up to at the moment this weekend at this stage? We're 3 days out.
You said it. We're pushing at a little bit below 17 right now, so not quite at the 18, but we're getting there, man. We're getting there. We have a lot of our marketing efforts about to kick in. But yeah, my hopes are to really hit our mark where we're at. Our hope is to get the 65,000 again. I think we can do it. It's a free conference. There's nothing to lose. Even if you only catch one talk. I mean, we started listening to some of the talks that they had there. And I mean, I know people know Chastity Project and they know the brand, and they think the youth work, the work they've been doing with the youth. And there certainly is some youth tracks, but I'd say predominantly the stuff that's coming in is for married couples. It's for singles and of all ages, young adults. A lot of stuff on there about finding for the singles, I would say that's finding your vocation. A lot of discernment. How to pick the right person for me. Married couples, we got some stuff on natural family planning. There's things that are just how to have a joy-filled marriage. We got Damon Owens of Joy to Be is going to be.
He's great. He's great.
Oh, he's great. He is awesome. Yeah, Christopher certainly. Chris Paget's showing up. I mean, it's got our Archbishop Porteous, am I saying it correctly?
That's right, Julian Porteous. Yeah, he's the founder of Cradia, which we're streaming on now as well.
Fantastic. I got to peek in on his stuff today too. But we just got Chris Stefanik, Matt Frad. Matt Frad and his wife Cameron are doing a special for our premium pass holders. They've got some exclusive booths there. Jason Everett's going to be doing that. Teresa Tomio's coming in. Ted Suri, Dr. Ted Suri. So I mean, we've got something, whether you're young adult, single, any age, married, have a growing family, you're going to find a home here. And there's one talk, I'm sure, that's amongst this group of about 75 different presenters that's going to touch your heart. So
75. Let me echo that again. 75 presenters. These are not just anyone. These are some of the world's greatest communicators. I encourage everyone who's watching right now, go right now, Virtual Catholic Conference website, look at the Love and Life. So what's the encouragement? Those who get a premium pass, what sort of difference is there once you get that premium pass?
Yeah, well, you touched on it. You got 75 presenters, and it's free for the weekend.
Amazing.
But
amazing.
This past weekend, I went through the Theology of the Bodies conference, and I got through maybe 4 of the talks, and they were all great. I mean, just phenomenal stuff. And I wanted to get more. I knew it was something that I would want to return to. Maybe not every single day, but like once in a while, I would want to return to that. And I know I can go on YouTube and I can find stuff, but to have everything curated in one spot, there's something that's very simple about it. And the quality, not necessarily of the production, but of the content is just through the roof. So for the premium pass, it gives you access beyond just the free weekend. And so you don't feel like you got to structure your time, your day, or anything like that. Life happens. You may plan on showing up and catching 10 of the 75 talks, and you only hit 2. Fear not. We've got an opportunity for you to be able to just purchase that premium pass access. We got a pre-conference special running right now where the thing's pretty much half price. So we've got 3 different packages that we brought out, recognizing that we've really got 3 different types, 3 different audiences here. So we got our singles pass that has a lot of the singles talks, doesn't have the full conference, but there's well over 45 talks that are in there for the singles that are really concentrated on finding that vocation. You get some access to some premium pass booths. Jason and Kristalina are going to do a special hour-long live booth that's only for those premium pass holders.
That's a great concept.
Yep, they threw a lot of their Chastity Project resources in there, and so there's things that they've been compiling over the years. That again, it's all those resources are all there in the folder. You got downloadable MP3s that are in there, so that's really the singles pass. You get the full pass that has all that, but every single one of the presenters. Matt and Cameron Fradd are actually going to be doing a special live booth for that. We're looking to throw a couple of more in there as well to continue to bolster the value there, because just how often you get an opportunity to do Q&As with some of your Catholic heroes like Matt Fradd and Cameron Fradd, Kristalina and Jason. But then finally, we put together a study group pass, recognizing that so many people come to these and they're like, well, I got my small group, or I'm a person that's just a self-development, I love doing self-development work. And so we put together actually a workbook that's compiled of all the different talks, certainly, but there's discussion questions, there's reflection questions to go deeper. There's additional resources that the presenters themselves have actually supplied to be able to go and grab some content off of YouTube. So this is really a great discussion group in a box. We built out tracks too. I mean, you look 75 talks, and sometimes it's like, I just want to know, I want to focus on discernment and discovering my vocation. Well, we got a track that's set aside just for that. Or I just want to, I'm struggling with pornography. I want to know more about sexual purity and just being a more chaste single person or married person. We've got all those different tracks so that people can jump into those and just make it simple to really digest the content that's in there, because there's a lot of it.
I really love it. Absolutely. You've done a brilliant job in the categorizing of it. So, rather than just sort of throw everyone in and go and search for the talk you're after, you've actually categorized them quite nicely. And but there's nothing to stop, say, women looking at those men's talks as well. There's nothing to stop you watching any of them, right? I mean, you've got things tailored for men, tailored for women, tailored for singles. But anyone is welcome to watch anything, and that's the beauty of it. So you got this sort of freedom to follow it whichever way you like, and so that's been great. So please take advantage of this opportunity.
virtualcatholicconference.com, and then that'll take you to the website. You'll be able to find a link to just join the Catholic LoveLife Conference, which is the conference's name, the Catholic LoveLife Conference. But virtualcatholicconference.com/chastity will bring you directly to the free registration page.
Excellent. Make sure you're registered. I hope you're registering right now while you're watching this. Now, I would like to sort of change gears a little bit, Matt, if you don't mind, and just get to know you yourself. We probably have, a good maybe 25 minutes to 30 minutes. Just maybe we can get like an express version of your testimony. I've listened to it recently. It's very moving. You are a veteran, and you represented your country, and I think it would be nice for people to realize your background, and then touch a bit about your upbringing. Do you mind giving us a bit of a taste of your faith journey?
Yeah, certainly will. No, it's always a privilege to be able to share this story. The way I look at it, Charbel, is I'm a steward of it, and it's just really it's a sharing in the Lord's story of salvation, and it's just. It's sometimes people listen to it and they're like, how can you keep telling it? It's just like, well, because I'm not defined by it anymore. Like I encountered Jesus in this place, and it's no longer a place of pain. But yeah, I guess we go back and we start like our family, I was growing up, we were Lutheran. We were, my father was a fallen away Catholic. Mom was Methodist. They met in the middle. They said they got married and became Lutheran. I don't know if that makes sense theologically or ecclesiastically, but nonetheless, we did it. And in 1990, we took a pilgrimage to Medjugorje. My mother said I could never be Catholic because of the Blessed Mother. And there was somebody that gave her this book on Medjugorje, and she was just drawn to it. Tried to go many times by herself. Finally, we go as a family, and my parents were just struck. And I just remember the moment when we were on Apparition Hill, and I was only 6 years old at the time, 7 years old. And I remember seeing my father kneeling in front of these Stations of the Cross on Apparition Hill and just weeping and saying, Dad, why are you crying? As a 7-year-old, this means something. You've never seen this before. And he says, Matt, I'm so happy. So we went home. They went to RCIA. My father became a deacon a couple of years later. And so I just grew up in this very faith-filled Catholic family. When we moved up to Buffalo, New York, the snow country, upstate New York, and we got very involved with our church there. And so I grew up in this home that just where we prayed the rosary often and went to mass every week, sometimes during the week, and went to Catholic schools. But for me growing up, I really was struggling with this. I was going through, I think a lot of guys go through, just an identity crisis. I felt very much a pull to be friends with people that were kind of like pushing the envelope a little bit, living on the edge a bit. But at the same time, I also cherished this identity of the good guy, the good boy, the good Catholic boy. And so that was kind of where I lived. And it was right in this place of, on one side, I wanted this nice whitewashed image, but behind the scenes, I wanted to break every rule in the book. And so I started to do that, certainly had my struggles with chastity throughout high school and well into college. But it was when I was in college as a sophomore, when my mom put a CD on in the car, and it was a CD by Christopher West. And he started speaking about how so often we think as Catholics that the only options we have are to indulge, and then repent, and then like white knuckle our way through chastity. And I'm listening to Christopher's talk, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this man's in my head. Like, this is my story. And at that point,
he does that.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? He certainly has a gift. He's living his unique call to sanctity. But that was a watershed moment for me. And I could say from that point on, what it did, Charbel, was I'd associated so much shame with my disordered desires, my desires that were lustful desires. I defined myself by that. I said I was bad, ugly, dirty because of that. And when I heard the message that, no, your desires at their core are good, they're disoriented. And that's what Christ came in to, like, reorient those twisted desires. It was just freedom at that point. And a lot of things through confession and penance and frequent sacraments. But with that mindset shift, that was huge. And I ended up graduating from the Naval Academy, going into the Marine Corps. So I went to school. I became a Marine officer, but I still had this image, and I haven't completely kicked it yet. I gotta be honest, Charbel, but of being the guy that has it all together. But I was deeply insecure when I was going through my infantry training and I was learning how to be an officer. And when I got to my first unit out in 29 Palms, I had 45 like incredible Marines that I was leading. And I can tell you what, Charbel, I was so insecure that I hid from these guys. Like, I put the office in officership. I would say, okay, you guys take them, go train. And I would just be doing desk work. And the reason I did that, because the thought in my mind was, if they knew me, if they knew who I was, if they knew how broken I was and how, quite frankly, incompetent in a lot of areas I was, this is the self-image that I had, that they would just reject me. And I didn't want that. And so I would hide from them. Well, when we learned that we were going to Afghanistan, originally we were going to Iraq, and it was a lot past a lot of the conflict. I thought our mission was going to go to Iraq and shut the lights off, pretty much. I heard we were going to Afghanistan. I remember guys high-fiving in the office, because one thing you want in the infantry is you want to be able to just test your might in combat, in a real combat environment. It's what you live for. It's what you sign up for. And I remember at this moment, my heart sank. And I can look back on that and I can say to myself, I think the reason I had that sinking feeling, because I knew now that there was going to be no place for me to hide over there. And sure enough, we headed over there. And my job when we were overseas was I was a joint terminal attack controller. My job was to control the aircraft and where they would drop their bombs in support of our units. And we were out on this little outpost, about 80 of us in the middle of nowhere. We actually had to build our own outpost, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
In the middle of the desert, but it's terrifying at the same time. But just when you're living on a football field with 80 guys, like, there's no hiding. I realized this pretty quickly.
This is like a desert, right? I mean, this is like in the desert.
Picture the setting, Charbel, we were in southern Afghanistan, close to the Pakistani border, and it's desert. There's some mountains to the north, but it was just flat. It's not like the northern mountain country. It was flat desert. And we just picked a spot in the earth pretty much. And before we know it, a couple of weeks went by and we had our own little base built there. And you just started you just start to bond. You can't help it. You start to bond. And what I realized as I was hiding, but also seeing all my men that like they had their insecurities too. And you just can't hide from one another. And I realized all of the things that were off with them, and they started to see all the things that were off with me, and the imperfections, and that shared vulnerability of just being in a combat environment and having to rely on one another. It was just the conditions for absolute incredible brotherhood being fostered there. And there was really a switch that took place in me where I was no longer about having the spotlight on myself. I know this can happen, and this is complete grace, but like I just fell in love with my Marines, and I just wanted to serve these guys. Well, that was a great transformative experience. But the piece that was really, I think, the most transformative experience of my life that happened there was when I had an opportunity to finally kind of step up and I guess prove myself as a Marine here. And we had a unit that was in contact. They were coming in to resupply our outpost. And I mean, to get to us, we were about 60 miles from the nearest adjacent unit. They had to go. There was one road, and it was dirt road. It was heavily mined. So we had to drive through all these fields to get there. And so this unit's coming in to resupply us, and they came under an ambush. And I was the only one in the area. They called in air support. I was the only one in the area that could get on the radio that was qualified to take the control. And so I'm about 7 miles away from the actual firefight that's going on, but I'm able to watch into my computer at everything that's taking place. And as two F-18s show up, I'm able to see from their cameras everything that's going on. Talking to the radio on one hand, talking to the ground units, talking to the pilots on another hand, and I'm just doing, I'm just talking the pilot onto where all the firing's coming from, where the enemy's at, and we pinpoint the location. I give them the cleared hot, drops a bomb, and I just remember seeing on my screen this flash, and guys in our command center, they start high-fiving, and all I can tell you is I just had this immediate sinking feeling in my stomach, and just didn't feel like celebrating. And there's something that happens. I don't care who you are. There's something that happens when the first time you know that you took a human life. Doesn't matter that they're enemy. It's something that there's something very sad about it. When you sit and you're honest about it, something's very sad about it. And I think that's where a lot of the struggles are with guys, is that they don't want to sit and think about it because they don't want to encounter that. Well, a few minutes later, we started getting phone calls come in, and it kind of confirmed that gut feeling that I had. And the reports were all saying that there was nothing but innocent people in that building. And so I'm just hoping that this is not the case. But my buddy, who was the platoon commander at our outpost, said, you know what? We got to go check this out. So they drive out to do a battle damage assessment and inspect everything. And sure enough, the report starts coming in. And I'm sitting there still in the command center, and I hear the radio operator say that they just pulled a woman from the rubble. And then it was a teenage boy, and then it was a young girl. And like, I just kept waiting for them to say that we just pulled a military age man with an AK-47 by side or RPG by side, like just some justification that it was right. There was something right about it. And I remember at this point, my platoon commander turned to me and said, sir, you sure you want to be here? And here I was, again, wanting to be the guy that had it all together, wanted to be the guy that could still be that flawless leader. And I said, yeah, no, just mass bravado. I got this. Don't worry about it. And I remember the moment that radio cracked and the voice on the other end said, they just pulled a baby out of the rubble.
Wow.
There's a common phrase you hear in a lot of veterans that have seen combat, that there's a moment where they feel their soul leave them. And this was my moment. I could feel like everything that made me human, Charbel, was just gone. I just felt like an absolute animal. And all I could feel was just the eyes of people in the command center just looking at me and just seeing me. And there were no masks I could put on at this point. I was exposed. And I remember just getting up and walking out. Wasn't a smoker, but I started bumming cigarettes, just chain smoking. I just wanted to feel something at this moment, because it was just so horrible. And I remember pacing. There was a moment where I heard this whisper, and the whisper said, Matt, you know what you've done? You've committed the unforgivable sin. You've just killed a baby. and there's no hope for you. You're damned where you stand.
This is in your voice. This is in your head.
It was like this whisper, slithering voice, and you're damned where you stand. And I knew who it was. And I nodded my head. I said, yes. I nodded my head. And at that moment, I just walked into my tent. I just dropped my cigarette. I just walked to the tent, and I was just an emotional casualty at that point. I just got and sat down on my cot and just retched at the side of my bed, just sick over everything. And I curled up in the fetal position, and I just laid down on my side. And I just thought to myself, like, I'm ready to die. I'm already dead. I'm spiritually dead. Lord, just finish me off. And in that moment though, I felt this prayer come out, and I prayed the Hail Mary, and I fell asleep. And I woke up, and I just still felt, an hour and a half later, I just felt terrible. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to wake up to this nightmare for the rest of my life. This is how I'm going to wake up for the rest of my life. I'm going to wake up to this nightmare. And, but I also thought, you know what, but at least I slept. And I had this kind of funny thing going on in my head where it's like the Walking Dead don't sleep, right? Like there's something human that's still in me. Well, about 2 days went by, and I started to have to do there's investigations that were going on looking into this, because there was 8 women and children. The final toll was 8 women and children that were killed, that died that day. And my JAG officer, my military lawyer, said, hey, Matt, we got to come and do an interview here, and it's going to be tough. But fear not, I'm going to bring you the Eucharist. Now, when we were back in Kandahar, before we pushed out to all of our outposts, I was going to daily mass. I was going to mass as much as I could. And there was only, of this huge international base, there was only about 5 people that were showing up to daily mass. I was one of them. And there's one other person in my unit that was going. It was my JAG officer. And so we had this bond that formed through the mass. And he knew that here I was in the middle of nowhere. There was no priests that were coming out to us. There was no Holy Communion. And he said, I'm going to bring you the Eucharist. And in this moment here where I felt like the most awful human being on the planet, I committed the unforgivable sin, like I was damned where I stand. And here, like Christ was going to come to me in the flesh across minefields to come to me. And he was going to not just forgive me, but to be one with me, like united, spousally one with me. That changed my life. That transformed everything. And I can tell you this too, Charbel, when Jesus showed up on that outpost, he transformed that outpost. And here I was, I thought I had nothing to, the 24-year-old first lieutenant that had never seen any sort of combat experience. And what can I give to these veterans that had 3, 4, 5 tours in Iraq, combat tours, fought in Fallujah? What did I have to give these guys? And when Jesus showed up, these men started to come up and they said, we desire to receive our Lord. And I realized at that moment that these were men that were seeking to be spiritually ministered to. And that was something I did have to give. Yes. Some of these men were seeking spiritual fatherhood. I grew up in an incredible home. A lot of them were abandoned. I could be a spiritual father to these men. I could guide them through the spiritual combat that we were all going through at that point. And many of us becoming terrible casualties to that fight. And so there's a small contingent of us that started even praying the rosary on a daily basis. And not all of them were Catholic. And I remember we started doing that on August 16th, pulled out of there December 4th, had all kinds of crazy stuff still going on, took our last casualties on August 14th. And I know this to the day that our Blessed Mother was just watching over us. I mean, there was one where there was a vehicle-borne IED that blew up right next to my friend's vehicle. And I remember I was 2 vehicles behind, and I remember I was sitting inside an up-armored vehicle at this point, and the blast was so intense that I felt it smack me in the face. And I remember looking out the front of the windshield, and where my friend's vehicle was, there was just nothing but a cloud. And I just get on the radio. I just try to call, get a hold of somebody. And moments later, the dust settled and there was a destroyed vehicle that was there, but my friend's vehicle was intact. And I mean, I'm telling you what, like this vehicle IED blew up probably 30 yards away from where it was, and it was a massive explosion. There was a guy that was sitting out, the machine gunner was outside the turret. Everybody was fine. Got a little rattled, but everybody walked away. And it was just, I know our Blessed Mother was protecting us on that. So I'll kind of pause. I mean, it just the story, it's like continues on. There's a whole encounter with Christ in the Eucharist afterwards, revealing where he was. And I don't know if you want me to get into that right now, Charbel, if you want to pause. Or...
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's just so much just let sink in. That's just what's happened. Wow. I just want out of respect. I mean, that was just phenomenal. And I'm sure the viewers here, just going through what you just did, not only defending and trying to, you're there to defend the innocent, and then you are the impact that would have had on you. But then the significance, you turn to prayer and that inspiration you had with Our Lady. And then what's hitting me right now is your the dates you're throwing out at me: August 14, August 16. It's either side of the Feast of the Assumption here. This is like a massive. This is a massive feast of Our Lady. Who
I never even made
that
connection. Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I mean, Our Lady's was with you right there, and she obviously understood what you were going through, and look at the results now. So you are now praying along with other guys, inspiring others to pray, because what's the purpose of the battle? For the ultimate. And I love how you use the spiritual combat, which is it's the fight that's going to be everlasting. That's the one that we're going to be fighting for, the everlasting freedom that we're searching for.
Yeah, the battle that really counts.
Yes, ultimately.
We're all in that. Yeah, church militant.
How long did you? So what time frame we're talking about here? When you were in Iraq and then in Afghanistan? What's that?
I never went to Iraq, but it was Afghanistan 2009 when I was there.
Okay.
Or excuse me, 2008.
Okay. All right. And then when did you return in December back to the States?
Yeah, December 2008. One of the first places I went, actually a month afterwards, was the Theology of the Body Institute. It was my first. Okay. I went to TOB1. Christopher taught. I remember Eduardo Verasteglia. I'm probably butchering his name. He was he was in there, and I was just like, I was totally starstruck by him. But it was that was a moment where I experienced some tremendous healing. I had a priest that actually I'd shared a little bit. He knew I had just gotten back, and he came up to me on Thursday night and he said, you know, Matt, I could tell that there's still an ache that you're carrying with you from your deployment. Do you mind if I pray over you? And I said, sure, whatever. And I had known a little bit about charismatic prayer and things like that. Yes. Well, he sat down and he puts a hand over my heart and the other hand over my back. And so he's just got my heart in his hands, and he immediately lowers his head and starts speaking in tongues. And he had told me beforehand, he's just like, and I've been told, like when I had my ordination, the bishop anointed my hands got really hot. And since then, I've been told I have a very healing touch. Well, he starts praying, and before I knew it, his hands just started getting hot, like scalding hot, not burning, but scalding hot. Wow. And I remember thinking to myself, what the bleep is going on here? And before I knew it, like this tears came out of nowhere, and I just wept, and I wept. And I wept and I wept. I said, I'm so sorry. I wept and I wept. And there was this moment where this woman came over to me, and I kind of bonded with this woman. She was probably middle-aged, single, and she grabbed me and she pulled me over. And I remember resting my head on her breasts and just weeping. And I had this image that came. This vision that came of I was laying on the breast of the Blessed Mother in this moment, and she was just holding me. And so that was the first of many powerful images, powerful encounters that just happened. A couple of years later, though, I was back at the Theology of the Body Institute. So if you haven't been there, go to the Theology of the Body Institute, people. There's a lot of great stuff that happens there, but there is a moment where we were breaking for lunch. And if you've never been there, you sit there in the classroom. The Blessed Sacrament is in there in the classroom with you so much of the time, where somebody's interceding, but there's a tabernacle that's right in there. And so they brought our Lord back into the tabernacle, and everybody broke for lunch. And I was in there I felt the Lord saying, man, I want you to stay behind. And so I'm in there, and he speaks in my heart, and he says, man, I want to go back to that day. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I said to him, all right, listen, Jesus, we've gone back there. I've had my big cry. Like, what do you want? I'm healed. Like, we're done with this. And he said, no, man, I want to show you where I was.
Wow.
And so it was almost like this vision came where it was like a cameraman, and I was boom, like right back in that command center. And I could smell I could hear the hum of the radio equipment. I could smell the dirt and taste the dirt and just feel like the heat of it all. And I saw this camera zoomed right into my face, kind of like this. And I hear that radio crack and that terrible message come over the radio that they just pulled a baby from the rubble. And I could see the moment where my soul just leaves. I'm just there. I'm lifeless. And the camera widens out. And right next to me is Jesus. And he's looking at me. And he's looking at me intently, with this great intensity. And he's just, I could tell in that moment that he was feeling everything that I was feeling right there with me. And I get up and I walk out of the room and I leave him behind, and he gets up and he follows after me. And I see myself bumming these cigarettes and just pacing back and forth. And as I'm going back and forth, he's trying to get in front of me. He just wants to embrace me. And as soon as I would get close, I would pivot the other way and start pacing the other direction. And I watch in that moment where I freeze. And I'm out there, the sun just beating down on my head. And I'm just covered in just this dust. And I hear that voice. You've just committed the unforgivable sin. And I just watch as I go into the tent and I curl up on that cot. And it's now like the camera zoomed in on my face, and over my shoulder, you can see Jesus. And he's got his hand over his mouth, and his eyes are filled with tears, and he's giving me this space. I've just rejected him so much. He's not forcing himself on me at all. And the camera widens further, and next to Jesus is our Blessed Mother. And she's just looking at me. And Jesus kind of goes, he doesn't want me. And she never took her eyes off of me. And when I tell you our Blessed Mother is fierce, I mean, like the look in her eye. And she just walked over to me, and she knelt down next to me and started singing to me and caressing my shoulder like a mother does to her child. And that was the moment where I prayed the Hail Mary. And it was just I can't tell you the joy. I mean, just the way that Jesus desires not to run from our places of darkness, but he's drawn to them, and our Blessed Mother's drawn to them. And now, I mean, just the transformation is, I just want to help. I mean, I've got a heart for my veterans. And in fact, I developed a program. It's called Warriors Redemption. It's a program that we offer through Metanoia Catholic, our coaching company. I'm throwing all this other stuff at you, but it's warriorsredemption.com is where you can find it. And it's just a program for veterans, first responders, and their spouses. And it's designed, I actually made it a secular program. I love taking guys through it through the Catholic lens because it's so rich there. But the goal of it is to help people to see their story and in light of the greatest story ever told, the redemption story, and to receive divine mercy. Divine mercy is the key to all of it. If all you get from this is divine mercy, it's the answer. It's the answer.
Amazing.
Divine mercy is the answer.
Everything will be forgiven. What drop of an ocean is one drop of mercy in the.
Goodness gracious! Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah,
well,
Charbel, thank you so much for allowing me to give me the opportunity to share this, man. It's It's so if there's any veterans that are out there, I want to connect with you. Connect with us on Facebook and go to Metanoia Catholic Facebook page. It's our Catholic coaching company.
But we'll get that in the comments below. We'll make sure there's links to that.
We're sending you all over the place right now. I certainly don't want to take away from the Love Life conference, but no,
this is important.
Able to do that. Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you for sharing all that. And maybe if we that bit where you're now on fire for the Lord, you've had these encounters. It sounds like you've had multiple moments there of these touched by heaven multiple times. Our ladies there, our Lord's there.
We need 2 more interviews to cover them all.
That's right. But now, fast forwarding into the work now, and your life now, you are dedicating your life to Christ in an amazing way. And this is, tell us, your ministries now. So we've got Virtual Catholic Conference, you've got Metanoia, and it sounds like you're doing quite a few things, and praise God. You're married as well, is that right?
Yes. Yep. We're married. We got a little. My wife's name, Erin Ingold, and so she's actually our lead coach at Metanoia Catholic, Metanoia.
Okay, great. We might have to get her on one day.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, she's incredible. She was on Jesse Romero about a month and a half ago. I mean,
fantastic.
She's very, very intelligent, very good at what she does, and it's her unique call to sanctity. The mindset coaching that she does. Wow. So often people hear mindset coaching, they think it's something that's only the secular world or it's New Age, and it's just like no. Look at the rich traditions of our church, the Aquinas, the Ignatius. I mean, so much of the interior life. That's where the battlefield is. That's where the spiritual battle is taking place, in the interior life. And if you're not properly oriented to it, you will be a casualty at some point.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Very good. Well, what I might do now is probably remind people, you're putting all your energy right now. This week is this Chastity Virtual Catholic Conference it's probably the largest amount of speakers you'll get in one place. This is larger than the previous 2, right? It sounds like there's more speakers in this one than the last 2 you did.
We've got about 10 more speakers. I mean, one of the ones that we're just incredibly excited about is Mother Olga, who's I mean, like, we have this international presence, and she is like so hard to get a hold of. And the fact that we were able to secure a video, I haven't watched her video yet, but Jason was just like, he's like, Matt, I saw it, man, tears. It is just like, her story is absolutely incredible. Like, that's worth the price of admission in and of itself, which is free. It's free admission.
Yes, that's right.
But I mean, just go and check out Mother Olga while you're there.
Okay. I'm very impressed for those Aussies watching. Not only is Archbishop Julian Porteous on there, not only is Matt Fradd on there, but you also got Simon Carrington, who's a full-time speaker in his own right, founder of Fire Up Ministries. And then you've also got Thomas, who's also in the Archdiocese of Hobart, and he'll be sharing his story as well. So these are Aussies from down under that are featuring as speakers, which is fantastic. So so I'd love to make sure that get people to sign up as well. Australia, New Zealand, all those watching, please get on right now as we're speaking. Register. It's great to see some comments already. People have registered, so please keep that happening and keep doing that. Do yourself a favor. Nothing to lose. Completely free. We've already put the link in the comments below. Let's unpack very quickly in these last 5 minutes together. So just to recap, it starts what time exactly this week?
So it's going to be Friday at noon. So Friday at noon, like
Eastern time? Is that
noon Eastern time? Thank you. Yeah, noon Eastern Standard Time. That's when the doors of the conference are going to open, and we're just going to put just the access link. It'll be certainly on our Facebook page. It'll be, but if really you want to register, you want to, like, we're going to be sending out the mass email. So at noon on Friday, so that you can show up. I remember when we did it last time, within 10 minutes, we had 37,000 people that showed up to this thing, and we can handle it. Like, don't worry, we can handle it. We can handle it. So that's when it'll start, and it goes until Sunday evening at midnight. That's there. And if you want to have access beyond that, that's why we built the premium pass. And I mean, the great thing about the premium pass too is, like, you're stepping into mission with all of us here as well. I mean, it's we have it's Chastity Project certainly is our partner here with this, is a huge beneficiary of a lot of our speakers. I mean, a lot of these people, their livelihoods was just wiped out by COVID too. And so like the premium pass really is a way of just helping to support these missionaries right now. And I know a lot of people are hurting. Everybody's hurting. But there's great value, even if there wasn't COVID going on. Like, there's $500 worth of value packed into this pass, and we're giving it away for $49.99 in some cases. You want to get the group study, $79.99 for that, and you get all the workbook that's on top of the exclusive, some of the exclusive live booths, the tracks that are coming along with that. I mean, that's where I'm encouraging people to go the most. We want to overwhelm it with the value and give you 10x of whatever you're paying.
Fantastic. And then if they don't sign up before the end of the conference, it'll still be available at the full price, which is it's still not much. It's $129.
Yeah, the full price. So like the pre-conference price for, say, the group package is going to be $79.99 right now, but it'll jump up to $129.99. So you save $50 on that. And the same thing, the singles and the $49.99, that'll jump up another $20, and then the full conference will jump up another $30. So I mean, just go in there, grab the savings, even if you think that you're going to watch a couple of the talks here. You're going to get 75 plus talks that are on there. It's like less than $1 a talk for what you're paying for. Nothing. So I mean, and it's curated stuff. There's discussion questions that are in there. Jump onto a Zoom call with somebody and like just use the time here that we got during quarantine. To be able to take advantage and grow, right? Not just take it in, but like we want transformation too, which is why we really invested in making that group study guide.
That's another bonus there. You can take it in your own time and study it and dive in and sort of revisit the talks, which is what I love. How long do they have access once you have the premium pass? Is that like sort of forever? Or do you own those videos? I mean, how does that work?
It's unlimited access at that point. And so it's there's no CDs or anything that we're handing out. And so it's going to exist on our conference member page.
Always be there.
You've got that as long as Virtual Catholic Conference still stands, and you got access to those things.
Fantastic. And what I might point out, and we'll be promoting all this. I really want everyone to go into this conference, but if you miss it, if you can't get there, look, if you register, at least it's free. Share it with friends, but then get the premium pass if you can't get to all of them, and that allows you to listen to them in your own time. I can't think of something better to do while we're in quarantine. Really take full advantage of this and support not only Virtual Catholic Conference, but the speakers as well. In this case, the Chastity Project's going to need as much support as possible. Jason Everett and his team, they reach millions of people around the world through his apostolate. It's amazing. We're blessed to be partners with them in Australia and New Zealand, so Parousia. So visit parousiamedia.com, those in Australia and New Zealand. Those in America, you're welcome to check us out and pray for us. But please support this conference. Go to virtualcatholicconference.com/chastity and register right now. I want to thank you, Matt, for joining me in such short notice. And of course, it's still brand new, but my testimony, Islam led me back to Christ, still there. And who knows, those in the States, you may hear it one day, but the book's now available. And I encourage it. Just released just before lockdown. It was amazing. We launched it and then everyone was locked down, so all the events were cancelled.
Plenty of time to read.
So get a copy. But we are out of time. I want to thank everyone. This is the Parousia Podcast, and we are blessed to be with the co-founder of Virtual Catholic Conference. Something tells me this is not the last time we'll see of this man. I think we will be promoting much more of his work, and I encourage everyone to get on right now. Please pray for him and his ministry. And until next week, stay safe and God bless you.